Okay. What's up, everybody? I cannot seem to record these things. There's no option for me. Last time we had to download all of our Twitter data, which was ridiculous. And then, you know, scrape out and find the thing. I don't know if it's some setting. Whatever. Another thing that I'm trying to do today, welcome all of you, of course. Hope you're having a good Friday. Maybe it's Saturday where you are. But trying to get Paul, our lead designer, onto the call today, because I bet a lot of people have questions about the breeding tool, breeding previewer that we've been iterating on, and he's the big brain behind a lot of that. So he says he's joining, but I don't see him. His Twitter username is Third Time Paul, and if you're listening, Third Time Paul, you can hit a button like request on this Twitter thing, and then I'll know that you're in here. But I don't see you in the message or in the space. He's telling me he can hear me, but I don't see you. So hit the request button, so then I'll at least know you if you're there. Anyway, so just a quick state of the union, I suppose. So this week has been pretty busy, of course. Let's see. Yeah, hold on. I got to get Paul in here. I have no buttons. Just share and report. Are you like an unverified Twitter user or something, dude? Like what? Like, is it because you have no followers? Is it because you're using a burner? If anyone has suggestions on how Paul can get in, I just don't see you. So anyway, okay. Well, he'll keep working about this. They're chatting in the internal dev Slack and they're trying to figure it out. So anyway, the State of the Union, right? So we announced. Let's see what happened this week. We released the breeding previewer. That was, I guess, Tuesday, right? And super excited to see people use that. We've gotten a ton of great feedback. That was a good first iteration. I think a lot of people really enjoyed the ability to now finally see what these things mean. But the next phase, I suppose, is iterating on it and tweaking and tuning. So there's a lot of good feedback on certain things that didn't quite make much sense. So our team's been kind of working pretty tirelessly on trying to iterate on that, make it make more sense. Let's see what else happened. So we'll talk about that today. I'm sure people have questions, and I don't want to answer any until he gets on because he knows a lot more about it than I do. The other part going on, I suppose, the term sheet was signed. That's pretty exciting. So that doesn't mean that we're funded yet or anything with any traditional investor, but it does mean that we're kind of official and going to be moving on down that road. So that's cool. We looked at an office space. We got together as a team for the first time since COVID, which was really, really rad. We've obviously been working together for years, but we've had to do everything remote since roughly March of last year. So that was a big moment for the team. Lots of great brainstorming and just discussion about the product, all kinds of different various things that we're going to be doing over the next 6 months to a year, getting a plan together. So really exciting there. Lastly, the thing I was going to mention was the hire of Michael. And correct me, Paul, if you're watching, did I get to this yet? I don't think so. Michael is a UI and UX expert, and he worked on many hundreds of websites. He's worked on stuff at FanDuel. He worked at EA. He worked on Madden. He's built tons of really, really slick UIs and UX, so he's got a lot of background there. He worked at Stats Inc., so another big hire for us, and so he just started as well. So anyway, yeah, things are moving right along. So I think the rest of today, we'll try and do 30, 45 minutes. I'm going to make Paul here a co-host, and then if we have questions about the tool, then he can help answer them. And let's go from there. Let's just do some questions. I guess first, Paul, can you hear me?
Second.
Oh,
there we are.
Dude, you're so loud. Or is it just me?
Oh, sorry, no, I will speak more quietly, but I'm on mobile. Here, how's this?
That's better.
All right, I will keep my phone at a distance. I'd assumed that on PC it would just work. I was happy to be in my headset, but
okay,
you gotta do what you gotta do. So.
All right. Well, there's Paul. Everyone, you can give him a wave. F in the chat. We don't really have Fs. What should be an F? The peace sign could be an F.
You've closed
respects to Paul.
Say F.
Okay, so let's take our first question. Looks like we got somebody here. CKG Designs is our first question. We'll go ahead and add him as a speaker. Him or her? They. CKG. Waiting. Oh, did we lose CKG? That didn't work. Okay. Well, that was a strong start. All right, next we've got Stylish and Fine. We'll go with Stylish and Fine if he's got a question here. Stylish and Fine. Wonderful Twitter handle. Are you there? Again, strong start. Well, this is easy on you, Paul. No one's got any questions for you.
That sounds great.
Oh, hello.
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 Oh, can you hear me now? I'm sorry, I had it muted. Hi, everybody. So my question was for Ian, or I guess all that's present. What's going to be the draw for playing the game on the daily? Because currently on mobile or desktop, you can move through the months, and if you wanted to, you can play every day, or if you wanted to, once a week. So I was wondering how that's going to translate in the new game, since you're probably not going to be able to move forward in the months.
That's right. Good question. So I think the draw is that you can make money.
Okay, but then you can't. You can only race once or twice a week with any given horse, right?
Yeah, once or twice a day, right?
Okay, once or twice a day. All right,
yeah.
that was the disconnect. I thought it was once or twice a week, and then the rest of the week you'd just be sitting there.
Right. And then you want more horses too, and then you could race more times a day. So I think it'll balance out. I mean, it obviously is a little gated compared to the current game, which does allow you to move at your own pace. But I think it's sort of critical for everybody to be in the same universe, at the same
timeline.
Yeah.
Right, but there won't be. I'm sorry, go on.
I was going to say, when you consider that these are real money races too, it's sort of behooves you to put a little thought into exactly which races you're joining. You have a bit, it's a bit more limited, but we picture it as I would almost say it's a little more serious just because there's more on the line. But we have thought a lot about that sort of opposite of time crunch, whatever you want to call it, because we're aware that some people just want to arcade and race all day.
Right. And there won't be anything else that you could do on a daily, like, say, training or something else that does involve you to come back every day to do something? Or will it be very easy to just log in once or twice a week at your discretion and otherwise just leave the game be?
Yeah, so there's two parts to what we're building, and I think it's sort of in the roadmap. It's hard to explain, but the beginning, the MVP that we're building and trying to release soon is more of an appointment-based thing. You just kind of log in and try and find a race for your horse. But the mobile app that would come later, we imagine will come later, part of next year. That is a lot more of the care, training, play to earn mechanics, so that people can play at their own pace. They could just do arcade things, play little training drills, feeding the horse, caring for the horse. All that kind of stuff could happen in a much more straightforward mobile game. You could sit and spend hours at your own pace doing. I'm really excited about that part, because I think that's what a lot of these crypto games are missing, is that sort of companion, something to do when the main PvP stuff is not happening. So
right, that draw is exactly what we were wondering, if the game was going to have that. But okay, so we can expect that in the mobile game, but in the first version, at least in the desktop game, definitely not. It's more about the racing.
Exactly. Yeah, you could kind of think of the desktop horses as all being fully ready to race, fully trained, perfect form, perfect rest, perfect weight. And then once we later open up the mobile app, those things would change. They would all of a sudden start to decay. You need to take care of them. Someone needs to take care of them. Maybe you share the stable with someone else. There's all kinds of different things that we can unlock there once we start adding in in essence, form and training to the equation.
All right, perfect. Thank you. That answers my question.
Great question. Okay, let's see. Does anybody else have anything? Otherwise, we can, just end this early if there's no other questions. This would be a pretty easy dev space. There's a lot of people on here for there to be no questions. Oh, there we go. Fib. For Christmas Fib. Let's see. I'll add as a speaker. All right. Fib,
do you hearken me on? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What's up? What's up, Paul? How you doing?
Welcome.
Hey. Okay, so I had two questions. I guess these are towards both of you, but so one of which is basically so you're the gameplay, the limited gameplay loop in the minimum viable product is have complete horse, choose race, right? So when you're choosing a race, what can you see about that race beyond just the parameters of the race, or is that something that you guys have exacted yet? Or like I'm thinking kind of like a list of other horses, like who's competing with you, and if you do know that, like how far out from the race would you know that? Would you see it populate, or how would that work?
Yeah, so we are still ideating on some of those things, but at a minimum, we do try to show as much of the conditions as possible that real life shows. That you do know that you are racing a mile, you do know that it's on dirt, you do know that it's this and this. The one thing that we have talked about is weather. That's often something that actually takes people by surprise. In our previous game, we told you ahead of time, hey, it's a mud race coming up. And so you could hypothetically breed a horse that's good in the mud and plan for the mud race, right? And that's actually not super real. So that's one thing that we've discussed a little bit. Should rain just happen? For example, you just show up to the track, you start to watch it, and you're like, oh shit, it's raining. My horse sucks in the rain. Such is life, or the vice versa. Oh my God, this is perfect. My horse is great in the rain. He's great in the mud. He loves it. His mother was a mudder. Father was a mudder.
Right. Yeah. Well, so given that, would it be like if you guys did weather? Would it be? I mean, kind of like the whole game itself. It's like you would have like a probability of weather, but it wouldn't. It's like you can't 100% call it. So
exactly.
It's like right.
You can see that it's overcast right now, and that means it's probably going to rain, but you don't know. Yeah, we could definitely do a weather report. I mean, that's some of the ideas we're talking about in terms of the. If it ever comes to a question of what we'll do, it's like we're going to try and do what real life is. We're going to try and it's just so much easier to make that decision. But the other question of that of like who's in the race, so we don't know the exact time windows yet of when a race opens versus closes, and then when you see who's in it and when you don't. Obviously I've seen other games out there. Of course, our horse racing manager game, you had to enter blind. And then all of a sudden you'd be like, oh crap, JP's in there, I'm screwed. But that's somewhat real life. I've seen in the competing product Zed that you actually see the other horses in there, and you can choose to enter or not, which is actually not super real, but it also kind of makes sense in the notion that you only have a few minutes and the lobby just fills up. You need to see that it's filling up and you want to jump in there. And then maybe, I guess there's something good about it too. If you saw, oh, hey, my buddy's racing, I want to jump in there. Or I know that horse, I beat him last time, I want to jump in there.
Yeah, I could almost imagine like a partially obscured populating like user sort of like a graphic or like a display. Mm-hmm. So it's like you could have like an idea perhaps of like the rank breakdown or something, but maybe you don't know specifics, so you can't like 100% dodge or one way or another.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question though. I mean, I guess again we would probably be a little bit obtuse to not let too much gaming be going on there. I mean, like you said, it is kind of the main decision. So I don't want to have like all this kind of like, well, number one, once you commit, you shouldn't be able to back out. You shouldn't be able to scratch and like get your money back, because that'll ruin things. If you saw like, oh shit, JP's in there, I'm getting out of here. But yeah, so I don't know, we would have to show just a little bit. I guess I'm being purposely vague because I
of course. I
don't really know for sure, but that's a good one.
Well, okay. So thank you for answering. My second question is for Paul. This one is for Paul. So I think that something that I've been seeing, because I've been in the chat, sort of like seeing what people are saying about the breeding tool, blah blah blah. I'm thinking like, what can you answer vaguely if like, say you have a top say your trait bonus is maxed out at B plus, or you have a trait that it has no bonus whatsoever at A minus. Like, is there an equivalence point there, or would like the A minus trait be slightly better than the B plus trait fully maxed out bonus? That's my question.
This is one that we've debated heavily for some time, and I believe I know where we are, but I'm not sure that we're committing to it publicly yet. But one thing that's really big for me in that specific instance that I think is really important for people to know about is that if you're at that lower grade but have those bonus points, one thing that I see on my end is, I mean, obligation is not the right word, but one thing that I see as really valuable on my end is that I want, even if those people have lower stat, or those horses have lower stats in the Gen Zero, I see those bonuses as being very valuable to the genetics and the possibility for future generations. Like, we're doing something very real life to genetics, and so you may not have the perfect expression in that stat at Gen Zero, but you have the keys in there that one good breed, two good breeds, whatever, basically shows up as a much better horse. And I don't know if I should go into like how genetics work, but even if it's not,
that's very interesting. Yeah, that's awesome.
Because we have this. We from HRM we had just this fantastic horse coat genetics, and we love it. We actually did some big improvements to it, but we're trying to expand that for more realism into more of the competitive side of things. Obviously, being a Palomino versus a Grollo is not not particularly competitive, but it's a really powerful tool in our arsenal and something that I don't really think anyone else can replicate easily. So it's definitely somewhere that I see those bonuses panning out down the road. When people ask that question, in my mind, and this is not financial advice, but in my mind, I say, maybe the higher grade is better just because it's, kind of better across the board. But someone who's, more interested in breeding or more interested in the gameplay might see, this lower grade horse is specialized, or this lower grade horse has potential. That's something that I'm, willing to commit more towards. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense, and I appreciate that sort of, because it's any sort of gamified aspect makes it more fun probably within a certain parameter. So to me, that is a value proposition between the now and the later. So I think that's an interesting way to handle it.
And to pipe in, I mean, I think if we looked at Horse Racing Manager, a maxed out B plus was not as good as a minimum A minus, right? I mean, so looking at what we've already built, they did not jump from one to the other, right? In terms of there wasn't a crossover there. However, the difference in Horse Racing Manager 2 is that game was really deterministic, meaning your horse ran exactly how he was expected almost every time, whereas our game will have a lot more jumping up and down, moving up and down, randomness to make it more competitive and more interesting, so that it's not just about an A horse always beats a B horse. So I think there's definitely like wiggle room on those edges. I think they should blend together. I don't think we know exactly how much, but I maxed out B plus, as Paul said, has genetic bonuses for the distance, and then I think there's probably still plenty of chance, and like we always at least try to say, because I mean we don't know this exactly because we don't know how it's going to work out for somehow how the people breed, but a B plus maxed out should be able to beat an A minus, at zero. Like that, there's no problem whatsoever in us saying that. It's just we don't know how often. We don't know which kind of races you enter. But a smart breeder and a smart racer could obviously make that work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's that balance, coming back to that balance again. But I think that answer to that question is it's satisfying to me to hear that. I like that. I like the blending, because since there aren't like grade specific races, I think that it makes sense to bleed them a little bit, since there will be overlap.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Good one. Okay. I'll keep you on here, Fib, in case you have other ones. Let me do this next one. Waza's Angels. Oh, I follow Waza's Angels, I think. Let's see here. Add as a speaker. Says can now speak, but then it still says requested. Is it thinking? Did we lose him right at the time? Trying again. There we go. Hey, what's up? Yeah.
Fantastic. My question is more about tokenomics and the airdrop for Crown, leading to my second part of the question, which would be staking a racetrack. So I'm on Solana floor right now, and I can see a number 8 ranked stud for 140, and then I can also see for 10 more soul, you can get a number 6 ranked filly. So could you guys go a little bit more about the ranking versus maybe buying multiple studs or fillies to maximize the crown drop, and how would it work with staking of the racetrack?
Wow, you got me with a lot of them on that one. So let's see. So, what is your first question? Like, what? Yeah.
Okay.
I can
Let's
answer
start
these.
with
I just want to make sure I do it right.
Okay, let's go with the first part. So right now, let's say you can pick up a number 8 ranked stud for 140 soul,
Uh-huh.
but then there's a number 6 ranked filly for 150 soul. So since there's half a supply for fillies, it's probably a better way to spend the 150 and pick up the number 6 ranked fillies, because she will probably get more crown drop than the number 8 stud.
Okay. In reference to the crown. Yep. Okay. Yes, that's correct. You would get more crown and be a part of that. However, I guess the number 8 stud doesn't guarantee you, or not guarantee you, but doesn't give you the ticket to the Gen Zero. But
May
then,
I?
I was just gonna say one more thing, Paul. The number 6 also, or sorry, the number 8 stud then also can create amazing amounts of offspring if you do find, even floor fillies. But yeah, go ahead, Paul. That's a really tough. I mean, like, I wouldn't say either one of those is a bad decision, but that's an interesting one. Go ahead, Paul.
Well, I'm not sure if this is a question for here or for Slack, but this is. So I'll say this as I'll say this as a personal expression, not as a speaking for the company, but where a number 6 out of 5,000 is not rarer than an 8 out of 10,000.
Okay.
Just because, and I don't know if that's true as far as rankings and ratings are concerned in the current market right now, which is why I'm being careful about that statement. And Ian, perhaps you can correct me, but
So you're talking about like the score? Like, I haven't done.
oh yeah, because Waza is saying that a 6 is a higher rank than an 8, except
there's only
they're out of
5,000.
different population sizes. So in terms of like literal rarity, it's
Yes, normalize the filly is a 3, right? Or no, wait, which one was it?
the filly would be
Already
a 12. Yeah.
The filly was an 8, or the stud was an
The
8?
filly was a
Forgot.
6 and the stud was an 8.
Okay, so the filly's a 3, hypothetically, if normalized, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that what we're saying? No, am I doing the math wrong?
I think you're going backwards.
No, the filly would be a 12.
Yeah, the filly would be a 12 out of 10,000,
Right,
the equivalent
exactly.
of 12 out of
Yeah,
10,000.
exactly.
Now, I can't speak to exactly where the market is at, and if the market agrees with me on that, but at least design wise, in terms of their literal rarity, that's how I would picture it. So, I guess I'm not going to give you financial advice, but
one other way to think of it, Paul, and this is again maybe for Slack because we haven't quite figured it out, but let's ignore the. This is actually how it should work. Let's ignore the stud and filly part, and let's throw all 15,000 in a bucket.
Okay.
And rank them that way in their rarity, and the fillies will naturally be all bubbled up because they have higher scores because there's less of them, right? I think that would work that way, and that would be one way to think of it. So I don't know exactly right now, but if we stack ranked and sorted all of them, I don't think all of the fillies would sort to the top. They would start blending there once you got later or lower in the rank. But that might be one way to think of it. We're slacking right now to know. But regardless, I don't think we have a great answer to that yet because we just haven't done the formula. So if you're planning to get rarity for crown drop, I don't know the best answer. I do know that having more of them helps for the crown drop. And rarity will be in the score. We'll have a formula that's public. I don't know it today, so I can't tell you. Sorry.
Okay. I think it's just some of us are trying to figure out, especially let's say instead of spending 150 soul to pick up a number 8 stud, the floor on the stud, you can actually pick up a good amount of studs compared to this one that's ranked a little higher. I'm just trying to figure out what would make more sense for the crown drop. And then, of course, you go over to the Phillies, the floor on that, it's right now 4
Much higher.
times what the studs are. So what if we spend the 150 soul and picked up less Phillies, but technically they're worth more if you put it all together, kind of like your example earlier, Ian, about if there's 1,500 of them or 15,000 of them, then the Phillies were obviously ranked a little bit higher. So you would technically get more crown from a Philly than you would on a normal stud.
Yes. Right. But, in your case there, though, again, we were slacking about this. That's why I muted with the team members. It doesn't feel like an 8 stud and a 6 Philly would be very different. You know what I mean? In terms of crown. Now, we've already kind of got over. There's a lot of differences in strategy on that stud has all the reproductive rights of great offspring, and then that Philly has clearly, one of the best possible Gen Zeros as well, but she can only be bred with once. So it's really up to the people what they want to try and do, have lots of Gen Zeros or have one great one or, whatever. But I do think the amount of crown between those two seems quite similar, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's really close together.
We're just so excited about this.
Might as well talk about it. It helps us to talk about it to make sure we're not doing anything wrong. But yeah, we just haven't gotten to that stuff yet. As much as I want to, we're still buried in the breeding tool.
We're very focused on genetics right now. I am up to my arms in horse in many ways.
Gross.
Anyway. Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys can answer or give us a little hint or light with the second part when it comes to staking for the racetrack and what that would entail.
Yeah, that one is also a little bit up in the air. Like we don't have the economy modeled for it or anything like that. But the notion there is that Crown is put in to get a license. We do think that it would be on a monthly basis. So our basically every 4 weeks our season resets. So that would be the time for everyone to kind of reinitiate their licenses. But the Crown going in, likely like you said, staked. I don't think it has to be spent. I think it's probably staked, but we don't know. I don't know that for sure. Staking makes a lot of sense. Spending it, I'm not sure if it does. That you would be, but regardless, some way like that you stake the Crown, and in essence, some percentage or all of the races that are run at that track would be generating Derby to that owner during that time period. And so the thing that when I mentioned the economy modeling part, the part that I don't know is that how many tracks we have. I think last that we did the model, there were only maybe 40 or 50. Maybe we pushed that to 100. That's still really, really low compared to how many people are probably going to want in on these. And so the question, I guess, around the economy is well, do we auction them? And now people are having to figure out, oh, geez, is this going to be worth it? Or do we fractionalize them so that basically everyone can get in? But the problem being, I guess, the more people that are in, then the less races there are to go around. So that part I honestly just cannot answer yet. But the point there is that you in essence take control of our schedule. We have a generated schedule of races that are being run every minute, and instead of us hosting them, the person that is staked the Crown begins to be the host, and then would be taking the rake of those races in the Derby token.
Okay, I just thought of one more question. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Fractionalization. So after the great breeding, for someone who does not hold a filly or stud and did not breed a Gen Zero, how would they be able to get into the game? Would they just have to buy a Gen 1 or Gen 2 from someone else within the game?
Exactly. Yes. Right. Once the ecosystem gets going, then those horses on the marketplace would be the way in. just like real life. How do you go enter a horse race now? You buy a horse. So I'm imagining people would be selling their Gen Zeros on the market, or their Gen Ones, or they would be, that's what they would be doing for the first few months, selling the Gen Zeros and Gen Ones, and then Gen 2s and Gen 3s and all that would continue to go from there. So that's in essence how you get in, is you buy a horse off of the market.
Okay.
And
so
eventually, I guess to clarify on that, I do hope that the play to earn game, when it comes online, whenever that is, the mobile game, that would have some avenue for someone to get a free horse or a very cheap one or something like that at the end of, maybe they play for however much time. Imagine the way I like to think of that, and the way I tell the team, is kind of like the Robin Hood stock, even though I kind of hate Robin Hood at this point, but the way that you sign up and they give you a free stock, and usually it's something terrible, but every once in a while they give a Tesla one away. That could be sort of a similar approach, that it's a free horse that you can get in, and it's a donkey for the most part, but every once in a while you might get one that's worth racing.
Okay. And just to be clear, if you're Gen 1, let's say it's for sale right now, you cannot enter it into the race if it's being for sale, or can you still sell it one race at the same time?
Let's see. So when you enter it into a race, it goes into like escrow basically. So no, it wouldn't be sellable or enterable if it was up for sale. But then claiming races, we could get into all the details of those. Those are actually races where the horses are for sale during the race. So when those are implemented, that would be another avenue for someone. They could just tune in to a claiming race. Oh, okay, I'll buy that guy, and buy them right out of there. That's another way.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for being so patient answering all my questions.
No, those are good ones.
We're so excited about the game launching, and yes, the breeding tool right now is extremely helpful to kind of figure out what we want to do, how we would strategize. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Okay. Moving on, J Platt, we got a monkey here. J Platt 12. Hello, are you there? It says that you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Trying. No. Audio issues. Okay, I'm gonna go to Luca while you figure it out. You're still here though, J Platt, when you get kicked on. Luca. Hey, Luca.
Yes. Hi, guys. First of all, thank you so much for taking the question. Really excited about you guys taking this forward and seeing it actually up and running. I have two questions. The first one is, I know we talked about, rarity versus all sorts of things when it comes to crown drop. I was wondering, how long have you been holding a stud or a filly play into that? Because I see a lot of, NFT projects now, especially in Solana, that reward how long you actually are holding something. And personally, I've been holding a lot of things from a long time, and I wonder, although they are not very rare, some of them are not very rare, how does that play in terms of crown drop? Because it would be unfair if someone just bought a floor stud now, that it would be priced exactly as me who bought a long time ago. That's the first question.
That's a good, I'll answer that one real quick. That's a good point, but it's not something we planned for. So it's not like we've been taking regular snapshots, and we wouldn't know if people have held it longer or not, unfortunately. So it may be a little unfair that someone can buy a floor and get crowned, but there's nothing I can do about that now, unfortunately.
Okay, that's,
yeah.
Okay, if you're saying that's not possible. So, second question is, I've tried to play a lot with the breeding tool, and I struggle to find any better combination than getting my best stud to breed with all of my fillies. I was wondering, how should I be thinking? Maybe it's because I just got a really good stud and a lot of floor studs, but how should I be thinking in terms of mix when trying to get my Gen Zeros? Should I just, because I heard you guys saying that in the last call. One of you guys said you should just go with the best one all the time. Is that really the way to go if you've got one fairly superior?
Yeah, so I don't think I necessarily say go with the best one all the time. I mean, I think that it depends on what kind of person you want to be and where you want to enter into the ecosystem and how much you're going to play, and then obviously just personal preference on the economy part of it. But the most highest grade horses are going to come out of the best stud, the most rare. And so I think there's sort of a very clear approach there that one person could get a really high ranked stud and then just burn through all of the fillies with the single stud. And so that is fine. Someone wants to do that, that's totally okay. But I think the thing that I've tried to impart to people, and we'll probably keep trying to hammer this home for people, is there's a lot of risk in that for long-term value, because all of those offspring are now direct descendants. They're brothers and sisters, and they can't breed with each other, and they have a very limited, or a much more limited bloodline than they would if it was sprinkled around. Now, again, is it better to have 10 S horses versus one S horse and 9 B minuses? I don't. It's hard to say that it's maybe worth that much if you had a bunch of floors. But if you can find the matches, like Paul was alluding to earlier, and get horses that have maximums, in various attributes, a maximum speed or a maximum heart or a maximum stamina, those are not only are they obviously great for breeding the next generation, they also have really, hidden genetics there that can set them up for long-term success, not themselves maybe, but their offspring. So it's really just around, the personal decision of someone wanting to do do they want to just make 10 S horses or A pluses or whatever and just flip them right away? Or are they looking to play this game and also have horses that keep breeding for generations and generations? If you hang on to a horse that is a Gen 0 with strong attributes, it should be breeding for the next, what did we do the math? I mean, it's 2 years, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So there's actually quite a bit of long tail to the breeding rights. I tried to show these instances in real life of, for example, the Justify example, who, raced 6 or 7 times and then is now just going to be breeding for the next 20 years at a probably, 200 times the amount of lifetime earnings from the racing career. So, that's the thing, is just people have to kind of, whether they want to commit to it or not, it's up to them. And then whether they want to, put in that type of effort, it's up to them as well. But there's different strategies there. And that was why we thought through a lot of this, is that we didn't want to necessarily just make it so an S horse is the end all be all, because that's not really what it is. It's really, it's a long game. We're building a real thing here with hopefully a very, very long tail. I mean, if our previous game is any example, it's still running after 3-4 years now of this exact same breeding style system. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right, thank you guys, and look forward to the game very soon.
Thank you, Luca. Appreciate it. Okay, Gabriel Rosa. Let's see. Gabriel, you there? Mm-hmm.
Questions. The first one is super simple. Here on the breeding tool, it's broken down to 6 different stats: start, speed. I pretty much know what all of them mean, except for heart and temperament. So I wanted to know, are you guys planning to put some type of document now that breaks down how each of these things affects a horse and a race, so that we know when we're breeding, do we want something with better temperament or more heart than stamina or speed and things like that?
Yeah, that's a great one. We should do that if anybody's listening on the call. Because, even though we are changing the formula somewhat from the previous game, we have an idea of what these do, and that would be great to just throw on there so people would know, like, I don't know what heart is. I've seen that multiple times. My horse has great heart, but I don't know what it means. So we can explain those things for sure.
Okay, perfect. And then the second question is, would that change that was made last night to the people with higher ranks having a little bit extra bonuses? How is that going to affect the gameplay and And the people who don't have the deep pockets, like the young lady who spoke earlier, who said, "Hey, if I can afford 150 soul and I buy this," like she's gonna wipe the floor with anybody who could only afford to buy 2 or 3 horses that might be ranked 8,000 or 9,000. So
Mm-hmm.
how is that going to really affect the game for those who actually want to be part of the game and not just be selling NFTs?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'll let Paul answer the change part, but the first part I want to just comment on is that, I mean, I think my favorite thing about horse racing in real life and in our game that we're building is that there's competition everywhere. So yeah, someone buys the number 8 stud or filly. That's exactly like real life. Someone buying a Derby offspring horse for millions of dollars. They're racing in the Derby. They're racing against other people racing in the Derby. But there's 200,000 other horses that are not racing in that Derby, and there's still tons of money going around. There's a lot of wagers and stakes at lower levels. So there's only 6, 8, 10, sometimes up to 18 horses in a single race. So it's not like, oh, they bred the best horse and now they're cleaning up. They're really not. They're only racing a few times. And then there's all the other competition going on. So again, there's competition everywhere, and the stakes maybe can still even get high. Like, it doesn't mean that you're racing for 30 cents and 20 cents. It could still be for, hypothetically thousands of dollars. And, again, you could look at a horse race schedule today. There's tons of races going in, random spots that you'd have no idea is going on for tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's what we're trying to emulate. So then, Paul, you can maybe speak a little bit to the change. If you're
Absolutely. And yeah, I want to repeat, just because it's such a big design flag for us, we want real money racing at every tier that we can provide it, right? So people who have those B horses, you might be racing for smaller stakes, but there will be competitive money earning opportunities for you. And we really want our schedule to reflect that, especially because, as Ian mentioned, your horse will be running at the moment. The number we're working with is 2 races a day. Right, so you should be picking the 2 most optimal races that you can win, where you can win the most money, and that's going to leave all the rest of the schedule for people who are looking for their grade, their ability, their tier of racing. Would you, as far as the tool change, I'm not sure I caught the question. Would you repeat it, please?
I was just saying, for example, myself, I didn't hear about this project until after you guys already had both of your pre-sale and public sales for both the studs and the Finleys. I'm not a horse race enthusiast at all. I enjoy building things, and so that's where I kind of got interested in this game. Oh, you can build a horse and train it and then hopefully make money doing it. And I enjoy the NFT market. So for me, I had to pay more money than somebody who got into this early. So obviously I can't afford, or I didn't get lucky enough to get a high top ranked horse. Some of my horses are ranked 3,000, some of them 8,000. So I just want to know, how are players like me who want to actually play the game and learn the game not going to kind of get swept under the rug by these people who have deep pockets and can afford $20,000 and $30,000 horses, and then I'm wasting my money and my time because I'll never be competitive enough to actually win a race.
Well, good. Okay. Well, I think I answered that one then. I mean, hopefully, because you won't race against them. That's the answer, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And as far as, I mean, this is not direct to the tool, but one thing that's valuable to remember is that, especially in, I tried to give this answer a bit to Fib Newton earlier, is that even if you're with those lower rarity horses, if you're hanging out in the 3,000s, the 8,000s, wherever, it's probably more valuable for you to look for those bonuses and get those 3s and get those 2s, because that means that, especially for someone who likes building, which is, for you can ask the HRM players how critical building a line was in that game, and I think it's even more powerful for the new project, that if you're getting those bonuses, there'll be good genes that you can build off of in some of those horses. So even if you're lower in that Gen 0, someone like you who wants to build, who wants to invest, who wants to find those pathways up, I think you can do very well if you're hitting your bonuses.
When you say both the bonuses, are you talking about bonuses you're getting for matching
Yep, matches.
hats and things like that, or are you talking about the little ticket that comes up that says my baby horse would be an A, and then they would get 1.5 bonus, a 3 bonus for speed? Is that the bonus you're talking about?
Yeah, those stat bonuses, those 1, 2, 3 in the start, speed, stamina, finish, heart, and temper. Those are the things that, you know, even if you're just on an A horse, which is still a good horse, if you're getting those bonuses, you know, it might not be as strong as an A minus, or, you know, it might have lower odds than an A minus this gen, but it's got that potential in the bloodline that you could build this into something.
Gotcha. Okay. And then my final question is, when the races finally do happen, is it going to be a situation where B plus and B horses are racing and they can't go up to like a A minus race, or how is that going to work out?
So we're trying to not lock races by grade. We did that in our previous game, and it's not really realistic. There's no such thing as a A grade horse in real life or anything like that. So we're trying to not do that. It's not that we won't do, like, maybe we would do special races that are, you know, limited just to make a little video game version of it. But at the core, we'd rather have it be flexible, because there are often long shot horses that win. You know, if they had actual letter grades, they would be C's or D's, and they beat A horses. Like, it can happen.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys, for taking on my questions.
Appreciate the questions. All right, I'm gonna move on. We're getting close to the end here, guys. So about 10 minutes left. I'll try and go faster. Let's see, Stens, if we can add you. Stens 31 or S10s 31. How do we go with that? Yep. All
right, 2 questions, and I'll try to go quick to respect time. One is about timelines. So I understand the life cycle, but maybe I haven't crunched the math on it. I've seen a viable strategy to retiring Gen Zeros immediately, starting your bloodline so that you're getting to Gen 4 when everybody else is at Gen 2 or Gen 3. But is that at risk of running out of sync with everybody? Am I going to have races that I can enter with my horses, or is everybody going to retire at the same time so I have the only Gen 2 horse at that time?
So that's a good question. I think the one thing that we haven't really gone into detail about that we've been discussing internally is just that there's a need for a breeding window, because we have a 4-week year, you know what I mean, that it would make the most sense for everyone to be breeding in week 1, because that would give you the whole 4 weeks to gestate, in essence, you know, throughout that season. So I don't know, to be honest, if it's a better strategy to just start breeding and breeding and breeding and breeding versus racing. I mean, I think that there's probably still quite a bit of benefit to having a horse that's a known commodity as winning races. You know, Justify and these horses in real life don't make all those money in stud fees because of their bloodline. They make it because they were champions. And that's sort of a known thing. Now, over time, that could change. That, like, well, we don't care if he was a champion. He has bred hundreds of winners, and now I know that because of his offspring's stats. You know, and that's what you care about. You don't really care about what he's done or she's done. But regardless, I don't think you would get out of sync. I think there's going to be enough people every single season that will all retire some percentage, that it'll kind of be naturally, you know, 10, 20-ish% of the horses just go ahead and immediately go into retirement at the first week and start breeding. That's my guess.
Perfect, thank you. The second question is probably a longer answer, so maybe just pick a piece of it if you want to. But I look at the discounts for in-game purchases both as a positive, a negative, and a huge question. So the negative would be you're incentivizing the whales to do better than the average people are, which I understand. That happens in NFTs, and it is what it is, and you want to incentivize the whales as well. But I look at it as a question mark of, what are my in-game purchases? So is there a breeding cost if I'm breeding in-house? I'm not paying someone else's stud fee. I'm putting my filly with my stud. Is there a cost to that? Is there a cost to training a horse? Those are the types of questions that I have.
Yeah, a lot of those we don't necessarily have great answers to yet. I mean, especially with training, that's something that's going to come later in the year. And then in-house breeding, that actually came up the other day. I was thinking about, there's got to be some sort of just like minting cost and royalty fee. Like if someone else had a full share on that one, there would be some sort of fee maybe or whatever. But I actually don't know. The in-game currency purchases, as of right now, there's just really not going to be very many. Those are the things that will come once the play to earn and mobile app come along. That when we think about the whole life cycle of training and taking care of the horses and people doing that as maybe they do that as their new job, that's where a lot more free to play mechanics will come into play. But I think I guess to make the statement, we're really excited to not have to do as much of those in-app purchases and let's call it pay to win mechanics. We really, because the great thing about NFTs is that we just try and make an ecosystem, and then the royalties keep the development funds taken care of. And so I don't really want to push hard on hey, if you buy this special sugar cube you win races, because that's just no good. So I guess hopefully it's it's a little vague answer because we don't have a perfect design for it yet, but hopefully you'll know that our view is to not make it whales winning every race, because there's all these costs hidden in making your horse good.
I want to chime in just to echo that. As a designer, I am so done with whales winning just because they're whales. I think that this game, when I look at this game and where those costs are, because there'll be a cost for breeding, and you pay to enter a race, but I am so set on making that as fair across the board as possible. I hate whale hunting. I haven't liked it in any game I've ever touched in the past, whether it was a big component or a small component, and I don't think it makes for healthy games. And if I know anything about this space, the healthier the game, the better the game, the more value it is, the more players who want to play, the better we all do. So in my mind, that's something that it's just not necessary anymore. Like I don't picture any special sugar cubes in this game if I can help it.
There you go. There you go.
Here, here.
You heard the man. Okay, so Zuby. I recognize Zuby. Let's see. Buying a ticket to the moon in 2040. Oh, that's nice. That's a good one. Let's get Zuby in here, and then we got one more, and we've probably got a bolt. Zuby, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hey, what's up?
Hey. I just want to say thank you, guys. It's great project. I've been in the NFT space for quite a while, and this one has a little bit more guts than most. So nice. I appreciate you guys' work. I had a couple of questions. On the breeding tool you guys have, there's there's like this ticket that's spinning back and forth. I was curious, is that going to actually be the Gen Zero NFT?
Yeah, that's a great one. We haven't really explained that very well either. And we were talking about this the other day. That it will be an NFT. So when we enable it, or when we're ready, we're obviously not ready yet. We have to make a custom smart contract for this and everything. But I was hoping sometime in January, you'll have that same exact looking tool, and you'll have a big mint button.
Sure.
You'll have to obviously prove that you own the stud and the filly. You can't just type in random numbers, but you would be, connecting your wallet, and you'd hit a big mint button, and then that spinning ticket would show up in your wallet right then. And so I kind of hope there then too that there's a whole big secondary aftermarket for people to realize, like, you know what, maybe I have 40 of these tickets. It's just too much for me to manage. I'll go ahead and trade some of these, or I'll trade up or move down, whatever it is. But those will be tradable in the aftermarket, just like studs and fillies. And hopefully those do really great too, because I think they're a lot more clear that, hey, this is a ticket to the horse racing game, as opposed to the cartoon, illustrated avatars are.
Okay. Well, and then as far as I think it was Gabriel or somebody before me had mentioned about racing, creating this Gen 1, 2, 3 as fast as you can. Are we able to race, say, a Gen 1 versus a Gen 0 in the future?
Yes. Yeah, I think, well, the age is the main difference, and not, most of the races don't matter that much. Obviously, some races are limited to age groups. But yeah, that's what you'd be dealing with more, is that like, oh, my horse is 5 and yours is 3. You know, what can we race in and race against? But yeah, the generation actually, as far as, unless someone can correct me on our Slack channel, I don't think it matters at all. It's just the age.
Current doesn't matter at all. Yeah,
right.
Like there'll be 3-year-old races, for example, but whatever generation you are, is it a 3-year-old? All right, come on in.
Right. Yeah, because that could be hypothetically a horse waited until he was 20 to have that 3-year-old, versus a horse that had the 3-year-old when they were 3, and those would both be a Gen 2, but they'd be, you know, far apart. Whatever, you know what I mean. They're different. They're different from each other. There's too much.
No, I get it. And then I had a question here from a friend, and I think he's asked once or twice, but he said, are the stats on the right tied into the letter grade, or are they universal across grades, such as is a turf performance of a 3 for an S negative, the same for a turf preference of a 3 for an A plus? Now, I mean, we know the case on the left side, but is it identical on the right side as well? Does that make sense?
No, the question makes perfect sense, and I think it's fair to say that there is an active debate about that right now, and I don't think we want to commit to whether it's local or global, or if I shouldn't use those words, if it's 3 left for an A or 3 left in general. We kind of see benefits in both directions, and we're looking for sort of the optimal solution that benefits the players, right? I think it's something we'll expand upon more and commit to more in the future.
Right.
That's a political answer right there. That's well done, Paul.
I don't want to.
He's also running for office later. No.
Yeah, I guess we don't want to spill the beans yet. That kind of ends my questions. Thank you guys for the great game, or
Thanks.
Great project here.
Appreciate it, Zuby. Thanks for joining us on the journey. Okay, so it's 4:00, and it looks like Ryu or Rue, however if you're a Street Fighter fanatic, which one you go with? I'll go with Ryu. We'll do the last one for you, my friend. Let's see, add here. If you're there. It would be a dud if the last person didn't have their mic on, right? No, wait, Ryu?
Oh, there you go. Sorry, it is Ryu. How's it going, man?
Good.
Good. This might be a really early question. It's more about the airdrop tokens that will be distributed to stud and filly holders. Is that going to be equally proportionate towards studs and fillies, or will ranks also have a factor in that for those airdrops?
Yeah, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier as we were trying to figure out the formula in our head. But no, it's a good question, which is just I think when I think about the notion, it's just that all 15,000, and it's actually all 15,008 because of the spooky studs, are in some sort of a bucket, and they're stack ranked, and they have a score. They've got a rarity score, every one of them. So that just needs to be normalized so that it makes the most sense. Of course, the fillies were more rare because there's half of them. The spooky studs were actually really rare, even though they don't have as much utility, but they're quite rare in the collection. But we just come up with some score, and then that score is the percentage of the drop, that we would do. So the worst score gets the lowest amount, the best score gets the highest amount, and then we just blend in between. So we don't have that number yet, but we will, get there soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
And then I guess, that makes sense too. The score or the amount drop would be per NFT. So then if you held 100 different ones, you would have your total score at the end that would be summed up. And 1 rare and 20 floors or whatever, equates to this score, which equates to this amount. So I think it should just be really straightforward. It shouldn't be very much guesswork once we put it down on paper. Cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody. This has been quite exciting. Thrilling hour. I hope everyone is having a great week. I'm trying to think of what's coming up that I could tease. We're still iterating. I don't know if we're iterating on the thing anymore. We're
on the tool. Our stance is we'd like to keep it as is unless we absolutely have to. So I'm leaving, the door is unlocked, but as closed as I can make it.
All right, it's closed but unlocked. Okay, so we obviously are there listening to all the feedback, any questions and thoughts people have, but it does seem like it's a lot more fair in the recent iteration. And I suppose, the next step for us is we're going to hopefully start showing some more and more footage of the horses, the track, and the game. We have some pretty great new UI mocks coming together. We've got, obviously, the race simulation stuff is actually happening. Hopefully we can show it pretty soon, and people will dig it. But that's it. Happy Friday. Happy weekend, everyone. We'll see you at the next one. Later.